Online learning does not have to be scary. And Madison College was there for me.
We have people that are dedicated to our students' online success.
We can help you with your technology.
Give us the college try for 7 days. No risk, no worries. Madison College.
Good afternoon, folks. This is Robert Chappell, Executive Editor of Madison365 with your daily update for December 31st, the last day of this wild year. I am not of the opinion that everything's going to be just fine tomorrow because it's a new year, but you can turn a page and we can say Happy New Year. And I hope you do enjoy whatever New Year celebration you do tonight safely, preferably at a distance. The news today is bad. It's just not good news today. No way around that, I'm afraid. The biggest problem we have right now is the 7-day positive test rates, which is, frankly, of all the numbers I give you every day, that's kind of the most important one. That's the one that is the best measure of community spread, meaning, transmission among people just, out in the community without necessarily being attached to any specific event or whatever. And both of those went up, both the positive test rate of all people as well as the positive rate of all tests went up significantly today. We'll get to the number in just a second. And I'll make one grain of salt that might make this feel not quite as bad, that our testing is still very low. And looks like what we're seeing is people who have been tested before are now coming back and testing positive. And that skews the numbers a little bit because they are not counted as a new person they won't be tested. They won't be counted as a new person being tested, but they will be counted as a new positive test. And if you have enough of those, that could actually affect the positive rate. So it seems like there's some significant number of people who got tested, either who are just tested regularly because they work in a profession that gets tested regularly, or who got tested once before just to make sure, and now came back to get tested just to make sure, and tested negative before and test positive now. It seems like there could be a significant number of those, but also with the testing being low, it's likely, it's possible that a lot of people being tested are more likely to test positive, either because they work in those professions that are at risk or they already have symptoms. It's possible that what we're seeing is people without symptoms. Back in October, November, when things were really bad, people were really just going to get tested just to see, because, stuff was just so bad, and it was important. People understood that it was important to get tested to help with the data and to help that you could be contagious without having symptoms, right? And I think we've seen less of that, but it's, the same level of people who are either already sick and going into the hospital and getting tested, or who are just at risk because of their jobs or their life situation, whatever. So it's possible that the positive test rates are slightly high, artificially high, for that reason. However, any increase in these numbers is bad news, especially the significance of the increase we saw today. So let me give you the numbers. I know we've given all those caveats and grains of salt and everything. Here's what we actually have: 9,700 tests today, which is more than yesterday, which is great. That's the most tests we've had in almost a week. So that's what we like to see. 3,810 positives, though, which is the most we've had. Oh, geez, I can't even see. I didn't realize how long it's been since we've had that. That's the highest we've had since December 12th. I didn't really even realize how long it had been since we broke 3,800. So just for the day, just of those tests reported today, which is not that great of a measure because these tests occurred over the past several days, But just for the test reported today, 39% are positive. That's absurdly high. Okay. Now, the 7-day rate of all people who were tested in the past 7 days increased from 25.1%, which is bad enough, all the way to 28.4%. Right? Over 3 percentage points. When you're looking at a 7-day rolling average, the whole point of looking at a rolling average is to smooth out the spikes. Right? When you're looking at a 7-day rolling average, you shouldn't jump you shouldn't even jump 1 full percentage point on any given day. So to jump 3 points, over 3 points, significant concern for me. Similarly, of all the tests that have taken place in the past 7 days, recognizing that many people get tested multiple times over the course of a week, went from 9.2% positive to 10.3%. Over a full point for that measure as well. I'm really concerned about that number. More than 1 in 10 tests of the past 7 days return a positive result. That's not good. And it would be fine. It would be better if it was 11 yesterday and it's 10 today. Then I'd be happy. It was 9 yesterday, it's 10 today. That's bad news. It's all about the context and the trend, right? The other problem, the other number I don't like, is the active cases. I've been talking about that as a number I want to see continue to go down. It has been going down for 6 weeks, pretty consistently. Today it is up for the first time in a while. I honestly can't even remember the last time it went up for even one day. Yesterday we were about 27,800 positive cases that are currently active. Today we're at 28,600, so several hundred more than yesterday. Yesterday was a little over 5% of all cases we've ever seen were still active. Today that's closer to 6%. We have 481,068 cases total that we've ever had in Wisconsin. And of those, almost 6% are positive. It's not a terrible number. That was 22% not that long ago. But the fact that it was more than it was yesterday, I don't like that. I don't like these trends going upward. We also had a number of deaths reported today. I'm seeing some really good questions. Aaron has a couple of good questions that I will address in a moment. If you have any questions on any of this, drop them in the comments. I'm not sure I have great answers for you, Aaron, but I'll get to your questions in a second. So we'll talk about the fatalities for today. Again, these are fatalities that didn't happen today, but that are being reported today. I have a hunch that some of these offices that are processing these death certificates are, sort of short-staffed over the holidays. So I think, and I hope I'm wrong, but I think that these numbers are a little bit artificially low just because there's not as much processing of the death certificates happening right now. But we did report 41 more fatalities today. And they're really spread out today. There was not any one, the last several days we've had like one county that has a whole bunch of catch up, whatever. Today they're all over the place. And there were 6 reported in Waukesha County, 5 in Walworth County, 4 each in Wood and Marathon counties, 3 each in Racine and Marinette counties, 2 each in Milwaukee and Columbia counties, and then 1 each in Winnebago, Vernon, Shawano, Sawyer, Rock, Polk, Kenosha, Jackson, Eau Claire, Douglas, Dodge, and Brown counties. So pretty widely, kind of around the state with those fatalities. Now, Aaron has this question: how many people are tested multiple times a week? It's a little bit difficult to say exactly how many people. I think we can reasonably say several thousand. because the way I reached that conclusion is the new number of people tested per day for the first time that are testing negative or positive for the first time is around 7,000 right now, and the average number of tests per day is more like 27,000. So several thousand people are being tested multiple times. Several thousand people of the 27,000 have been tested before. So, as many as 15 or 20,000 even in that. If we have 27,000 tests in a day and we're reporting 7,000 new people per day, that means 20,000 of those people have been tested before, at least once. And of that 20,000, it's really hard to say how many are tested, like how many were tested yesterday versus how many were tested in June, right? So I would venture a guess several thousand, maybe as many as 10,000 healthcare workers mostly are being tested regularly. And I think how often exactly, how many times, depends on profession. I know like University of Wisconsin staff are being tested once a week. Students, when they were here, they're not here anymore right now, but when students were here, they were being tested once every other week or so. Maybe, and some were more often than that. I think healthcare workers, depending where they work, depending what sort of sector of healthcare they're in, are tested 3 or 4 times a week. So it varies, I think, and it is, I would guess in the range of 10,000 people, maybe a little fewer than that, who are really, really regularly tested multiple times each week. There's a stats question that I'm not entirely sure I can answer. It doesn't stand to reason that with the lower testing, the percentage is accurate because the asymptomatic aren't being captured. And I would say, no, I don't think, I wouldn't say it that way. I would say exactly the opposite. That because the asymptomatic are not being captured, that we're missing a lot of cases. That we're missing all the asymptomatic cases. Not all of them, but we are missing many asymptomatic cases. And more importantly, we are missing pre-symptomatic cases. And I would bet we're missing a lot of symptomatic cases too. I bet there are a lot of people in the world out around Wisconsin who are feeling a little bit under the weather. And because we're in the 11th month of this thing or whatever, just stay home and don't go get tested. Because they kind of know, I think at this point we kind of know what's going to happen. That, if you reach a certain point, you'll have to go to the hospital. But if you don't reach that point, you can just stay home and feel terrible. I think a lot of times, like I know if I have the flu, but I don't have to go get tested for the flu because I know what the flu is. Like I know I'm going to stay home and feel terrible for 3 days and then get better. And I think that's what most people think COVID is now. You know what I mean? Which it kind of is. For most people, you feel crummy for a few days and then you get better. Or not, or you know what I mean, or you get better, but not all the way better. Like you still have significant problems, but you still don't have to go to the hospital. So I think there are a lot of people who do have symptoms who aren't getting tested. I think there are a lot of people who don't have symptoms and aren't getting tested. And I think if we had more testing, we would catch more of those people, and we would get a bunch of negative tests. What we would like to see is a whole bunch more negative tests, so that percent positive can go down. So what do I think the percent positive is? I'm not sure what you're asking. I mean, the percent positive is 28.4. The percent positive is of all tests is 10.3. Like that's the answer to that question. It doesn't matter what I think it is. It's not a speculative question. It's a statistic. We have a certain number of tests and a certain number of of those tests come back positive. I think if I had to guess, though, I would imagine, and that we have, as I mentioned, we have 28,000. What did I say? 28,600 currently active cases. Those are confirmed, right? I would guess that there's probably at least double that are actually active right now. Probably more than that. Probably 60 to 70,000 people are walking around Wisconsin with COVID and either don't know it or know it and just haven't been tested. I would not be surprised if that were the case at all. Your question, how do we get more people to test? I don't know. To be honest with you, I think you got to keep it easy, and continue to message that getting tested is a good thing to do. And then we got to take the next step and say getting vaccinated is a good thing to do once we have all the vaccines available. Once we have more doses available and we get that rollout really going. I anticipate that more people will start to get tested next week. I think we'll get back to that level that we saw in October and November. That people, it's the holidays, people are busy, or people are just relaxing and not dealing with it right now, which I think is understandable and fine. I think once school starts up again and people kind of get back into the swing of things, as much as we are able to be in the swing of things right now, more people will get out and get tested. We did see longer wait times earlier this week between Christmas and New Year's week. We did see longer wait times at the Alliant Energy Center testing site, so I think people were starting to get tested more. I expect that to return. I would expect to see more testing happening by mid-January, and it might turn out that also in that same period of time we will ramp up our reporting, so the tests will get processed quicker, and we'll see more deaths being processed and reported. And I would be surprised if we see a couple hundred more deaths reported in January that actually took place in December. So we'll see about that. Aaron asked, this is a great question too. Do we have any updates on the pacing of the vaccine? No, I'm sorry to say we do not. I don't think we will for a couple of weeks. I think it's being, any sort of major government operation like that is complicated and difficult, and it's especially complicated and difficult when you have a federal administration that is not particularly concerned with competence. I don't mean to make a political statement, but it has been a hallmark of this particular administration that people in positions of authority that aren't particularly experienced. Of course, any administration can fumble and have fumbled logistical operations like this. So I can't lay the entire blame on the Trump administration. However, it hasn't been going very well. I do know that Senator Tammy Baldwin, United States Senator Tammy Baldwin, and United States Congressman Brian Steele, a Democrat and a Republican, sent a letter to Governor Evers today asking a series of specific questions about the rollout, specifically like where geographically are your priorities, what's your plan, basically. But also asked, we understand that the information coming from Operation Warp Speed has not been very clear. What do you need? Like, what information, what support do you need from the federal government to make this happen? So, I'm hopeful that will begin to happen. I have not seen any reports of any more doses prepared to be delivered to Wisconsin. We got those first 35,000, of which 500 were intentionally destroyed from Pfizer, and then we had another 18,000 coming from the Moderna vaccine, and I'm not, frankly, not even sure if those have arrived yet. I think they have. So, unfortunately, the answer to your question is no. We don't have any additional information. I do not doubt that teachers are willing to get vaccinated, and I am of the opinion, if I may offer an opinion, that teachers and all school staff, frankly, should be next in line after healthcare workers. I mean, I understand healthcare workers and long-term care residents. There's also, but I think teachers should be next, because if we want to open schools, and there's a big push and a big desire to open schools, and I understand that. And I would be a lot more comfortable with it. I'm not worried about my kids getting sick in school, because kids we've just seen that data that the kids are less vulnerable. But I'm significantly concerned for my kids' teachers. And if teachers were vaccinated, I would have a much easier time sending my kids to school. And then prison populations should be next, I think, just because it is that those locations are such a vector, and they affect the entire community around those prisons, because you can't contain it. You know what I mean? So any place like that where there's a sort of a congregate facility, where there's a whole bunch of people in close quarters, I would see that as the next place where vaccinations would just make the most sense epidemiologically. Okay. Yes, Corey, 100% school bus drivers. To the extent that schools are going to do, some school districts may not even do transportation, but I agree with you. School bus drivers, all mass transit drivers, but also custodial staff, aides, educational aides, office staff in schools. Anybody that's got to be there indoors for 7-8 hours a day with a bunch of kids, like, get them the vaccine right now, please. So that's what I have for COVID today. I have a couple more things to talk about, so stay with us. I know we've gone a little bit long already, but if you'll bear with me a minute, I got a couple more things to mention. So don't scroll away. We'll be back right after this in about 15 seconds. Lunch ladies, 100%. It is that's the one place where all the kids have their masks off, right? Is eating lunch. So yes. All right, so let's move on here. As I mentioned a couple times already, we've been looking back on this year at Madison365.org. You can see some of our staff favorites, and over on the It's Only 10 Minutes podcast this morning, wherever you get your podcasts, search for It's Only 10 Minutes. Or you can go to Madison365.org/podcasts. And we have an interview this morning with our reporter, Mackenzie Crum, who is been with us for a couple of years and had some really interesting things to say about her favorite stories for this year, as well as the sort of conundrum, not really conundrum, the specific circumstance of, which is something I know about, which is, covering communities of color, engaging in community journalism around communities of color, as a white reporter. It's not to complain about it. It's not like I have it hard or anything like that, but to come at these stories from a place of privilege, and to be authentic about it, and to try to authentically tell these stories it's a weird place to be, and it's a thing we have to be cognizant of, right? We don't want to be colorblind about it, right? So we had a nice chat about that particular issue, but also some of her favorite stories from the year, and just kind of what it means to be a journalist in times like this. But then also a couple of the other favorite stories from the year. This is one of mine. Jalarina Sanders, who was a first wave student. University of Wisconsin has this first wave program, which is basically imagine if you had an athletic scholarship, but for hip hop artists, right? Every year they bring in like between 12 and 20 students, and they give them a scholarship because of their hip hop arts talents. Which is just like joining the football team. You come here on a football scholarship. We expect you to play really good football, and in return, we pay for your tuition. It's the same kind of thing, except you come here. We expect you to create great art of the hip hop variety, and we'll give you a scholarship for that. And similarly, a handful, some small percentage of the people they give a scholarship to play football become professional football players. And some percentage of the folks they bring in for First Wave become professional hip hop artists. And Jallarina Sanders is one of them. And she was discovered. They were doing a documentary about the First Wave program. She was discovered during that they kind of discovered her during that program, and they being Public Television Wisconsin, PBS Wisconsin, formerly Wisconsin Public Television, and they decided they want to do something with her. So they ended up making this series of 3 music videos. Which everybody thought was great, and it did good. They released them digitally. They're really cool. They had a lot of warm reception. And then they won an Emmy. The regional Emmys, the Chicago Emmys, where they're up against, TV stations in Milwaukee and Chicago and Indiana and all over the Midwestern region. And she won this show won an Emmy. So she's actually now in a position where she can shop this bigger project to Netflix, HBO, ABC. It's a really great story, really fun conversation I had with her. So that's on the site today as well. And then a couple other stories that were sort of Malik's favorite, Malik Anderson, or the reporter. One of those is, sorry, you can't see that. Ayuda Muchwa, Milwaukee, was something that happened early in the pandemic. Really quick, massive response to the sudden economic crisis that was created by COVID-19 in Milwaukee. We were very happy to be able to jump on that story pretty quickly, kind of promote that and then make people aware that they can support that and make use of those resources. And then another Malik story was Chef Ace Champion. We became aware of Ace Champion when we did our Community Choice Awards, Wisconsin Leadership Summit Community Choice Awards. We just put out the word for nominations for Woman of the Year and Man of the Year, or Man of Excellence, Woman of Excellence. And Ace Champion's wife actually nominated him, and I had never heard of him. And turns out he's got a syndicated TV show that's a cooking show. He's a personal chef. He's in Green Bay, serves families and restaurants and stuff all over the Fox Valley. So just made sense. This is like, we got to do a profile on this guy. So Malik was able to talk to him and do a really nice profile on Chef Ace Champion. And there's a video in that story. If you watch that, look at that story. There's a video of him cooking on I think it was the Today Show, maybe Good Morning America, one of those. I'm sorry, but on a Super Bowl Sunday, he was there like representing Packer Nation back when the Packers were in the Super Bowl, and doing here's fancy treats you can make for your Super Bowl viewing party, whatever. And just a really cool personality and a really, really interesting person to profile. So we had fun with that. So tomorrow, the It's Only 10 Minutes podcast is actually only 30 minutes tomorrow, because we actually spent a lot of time. I talked with Dave, our editor-in-chief, and Steph, my co-host and wife, kind of interviewed me for a while about this year, and we ended up going on talking for a long time, but about this year, about what journalism means in a time like this, about what Madison365 specifically does in terms of journalism, what community journalism is and what it's about, kind of how we navigated this year. It was really, I think a fascinating conversation. If you want to know a little bit more about kind of behind the scenes, how we view things, our journalistic philosophy, sort of, give that a listen tomorrow. Go to madison365.org/podcasts and tune in. I think a lot of other podcasts are taking the day off, so you have a little extra time in your podcast diet tomorrow to listen to a slightly longer version of our daily podcast. So I appreciate your time today. Once again, enjoy your New Year's celebration safely and at a distance. I will be celebrating New Year's on the couch, watching other people celebrate it wherever they are. So happy New Year to you. I will be back. I think I may take tomorrow off of the live, unless if the COVID numbers are bad again tomorrow, I'll come on and talk about them, probably. I don't have anything planned. So, but I may take the day off tomorrow. So either way, I will let you know. I hope you have a wonderful evening, and we will see you again real soon.
This is 365 Media.